Tonight, you're about to witness a story of heartbreak, betrayal, and unexpected redemption. A billionaire, at the height of his power, never imagined that one rainy night would change his life forever. He sees a poor black woman on the street, shivering in the downpour, clutching 3 tiny babies, and he has no idea they are his children. This is a story of lost years, broken promises, and a second chance that comes too late for some, but just in time for others. Before we dive in, make sure you like this video, comment your thoughts, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story that will shock, inspire, and move you. Now, let's begin. The city was drowning in rain that night. Water ran in torrents along the sidewalks, headlights blurred into streaks of white and red, and umbrellas bent under the storm's fury. Inside his sleek black Rolls-Royce, Alexander Kane, one of the wealthiest men in the country, sat shielded from it all. At only 38, he was already a billionaire tycoon whose empire stretched across real estate, technology, and finance. To the outside world, he had everything: money, power, prestige. Yet, behind the tinted glass of his luxury car, his expression was grim, his jaw tight. Wealth had given him comfort, but not peace. As the chauffeur slowed the car near a traffic light, Alexander's eyes caught something unusual. On the corner, drenched to the bone, was a young black woman. Her clothes clung to her thin frame, and her hair was plastered to her face. But what made Alexander lean forward in his seat wasn't her alone. It was the 3 tiny babies huddled in her arms, each wrapped in a thin, soaked blanket. The woman was begging. Her trembling hand stretched out to strangers who hurried past, avoiding her as though she were invisible. The rain pounded harder, and one of the babies let out a weak cry, muffled against her chest. For the first time in years, something inside Alexander stirred, an ache he couldn't explain. He tapped the glass lightly. "Sir," the chauffeur asked, "stop the car." The driver hesitated. "Here, Mr. Kane. This is not the—" "I said stop the car." The vehicle eased to the curb, and Alexander's gaze remained locked on the woman. She was shivering violently, her lips moving in silent prayers or pleas. As he studied her face through the downpour, a strange familiarity tugged at him. Something about her features, it was haunting. The light turned green. Cars honked impatiently behind them, but Alexander didn't move. His hand pressed against the door handle, his heart unexpectedly racing. Who was she? And why, despite his ironclad control over his emotions, did he suddenly feel like the storm outside had broken into his soul? Alexander stepped out of the car, the rain immediately soaking his tailored navy suit. The chauffeur rushed with an umbrella, but Alexander waved him off. His eyes were locked on the woman. She flinched as he approached, clutching the babies tighter to her chest, as though afraid he might take them away. "Miss, are you all right?" His voice was firm, but not unkind. The woman looked up, and for a moment their eyes met. Her gaze was tired, but it carried a fire that defied her condition. Recognition hit Alexander like lightning. "Naomi," he whispered. Her lips trembled. She hadn't heard that name spoken in years, not since the man standing before her had left her behind. "Yes, it's me," she said softly, her voice almost drowned out by the rain. Memories rushed back to Alexander, a college love affair that had burned hot and bright, but ended when his father intervened. "She's not your future," his father had said. "She'll only drag you down." Pressured, Alexander had walked away, chasing ambition and empire, leaving Naomi heartbroken. But here she was again, ragged, exhausted, and holding 3 children who couldn't have been more than a year old. He felt his throat tighten. Are those your babies?" Naomi's eyes flashed, defensive. "They're mine." The triplets whimpered, and she rocked them gently, trying to soothe their cries. Alexander hesitated, studying the curve of their cheeks, the shade of their skin, the shape of their eyes. Something gnawed at his heart. They looked familiar. But before he could ask more, Naomi turned away. "I don't need your pity, Alexander. Just keep walking. That's what you do best." His chest ached at her words. For the first time in a long time, the billionaire felt powerless. Alexander couldn't leave. He watched as people ignored her. Men and women with dry coats and expensive shoes brushed past like she didn't exist. Rage bubbled inside him. Naomi had once been radiant, full of dreams. Now she was begging on a street corner. "Get in the car," he said suddenly. Naomi froze. "What?" "You and the children. Come with me." She let out a bitter laugh, though her tears mingled with the rain. "And why would I do that? So you can feel better about yourself? You already abandoned me once." Her words cut deep. Alexander clenched his fists. "I won't abandon you again." Naomi stared at him, searching for sincerity. The babies stirred, their cries growing louder. They were hungry, cold, and exhausted. Her heart ached. She couldn't endure watching them suffer another night on the streets. Finally, with trembling legs, she followed him to the Rolls-Royce. The chauffeur's eyes widened at the sight, but Alexander silenced him with a look. Inside the car, the warmth enveloped them. Naomi held her children close, while Alexander stole glances at them, 3 identical little faces, their wide brown eyes filled with innocence. Something inside him whispered a truth he wasn't ready to admit. Could they be his? The car wound through the slick streets until it reached Alexander's mansion, a sprawling estate perched on a hill, rain-slicked gardens glistening in the dim light. For Naomi, it was a world she had never imagined she'd enter again. "Stay here," Alexander said softly, as the chauffeur opened the door. He led her inside himself. Warmth washed over her, the scent of polished wood, leather, and faint vanilla. The babies gurgled and squirmed, their tiny fists patting Alexander's suit. I can't take them," Naomi whispered, panic rising. "They need food, care, everything. You don't understand." "I understand more than you think," Alexander interrupted, his voice gentle now. He guided them toward a nursery, a room he had prepared long ago, imagining children he had never known. Cribs were lined up, toys neatly arranged, and a soft glow from a nightlight bathed the space. The babies cooed and reached for him instinctively, and Alexander felt a sharp pang in his chest. It was undeniable now. They were his. Naomi's eyes widened, fear and disbelief flickering across her face. "No, this isn't possible. You left me. I raised them alone." "I know," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I've carried that guilt every day. But I'm here now, and I won't leave you, or them, again." For the first time in years, Naomi felt tears slipping down her cheeks, mixing with the rain still clinging to her hair. She couldn't trust him completely, but the sight of her children safe and warm in a mansion she never dreamed she'd enter, it gave her a glimmer of hope. That night, after the babies were fed and tucked into the cribs, Naomi and Alexander sat across from each other in the living room. The storm outside mirrored the turmoil in their hearts. "Tell me everything," Alexander urged, leaning forward. How did you survive all this time?" Naomi's voice trembled. "It wasn't easy. I begged, I worked odd jobs, sometimes nothing came. But I loved them. I couldn't let them go hungry, no matter how desperate I was." She swallowed hard, looking away. "And I never told you because I didn't want to face your disappointment again." Alexander's heart ached. "I have nothing but pride and love for you, Naomi. Leaving was the worst mistake of my life. I should have fought for you, for them." Her eyes filled with tears, but there was a hint of relief. I don't know if I can forgive you yet," she whispered. "I don't expect it immediately," he said. "I just want the chance to be a part of their lives. To be your family again." Naomi studied him, searching for the man she had once loved. Could the billionaire who had abandoned her truly have changed? Could he care enough now to make up for lost years? The night stretched on, filled with heavy silence, the kind that carries both pain and the possibility of new beginnings. Outside, the storm began to fade. And inside, a fragile hope took root. Naomi barely slept that night. She kept checking on the babies, ensuring each one was breathing, their little chests rising and falling evenly. Alexander, surprisingly, stayed by her side, dozing in an armchair yet alert at every tiny cry. In the quiet moments, Naomi studied him. "I still can't believe you care enough to come back," she murmured. Alexander looked at her with eyes that betrayed years of guilt. "I've always cared. I just lost my way. But I'll never lose them again." The babies stirred, and Alexander instinctively rose, cradling the smallest one. Naomi watched him, heart aching. He knew their names already: Eli, Noah, and Amara, names she had chosen alone, names he now vowed to honor. The next morning, Alexander insisted on taking Naomi and the triplets to the doctor. They entered a private clinic, and as the nurse measured and weighed the babies, something remarkable happened. "You're Alexander Kane?" the nurse asked hesitantly, looking at Naomi. "Yes," he replied, confused. The nurse held a file, her hands shaking slightly. "These children, your blood tests confirm, they're yours. All three." Alexander froze. His heart raced. He stared at Naomi, who clutched the babies, tears streaming down her face. "They're mine," he whispered. "All this time. I never knew." Naomi nodded, overwhelmed. "I didn't want to tell you. I wasn't sure you'd believe me or care." "I care," Alexander said, his voice breaking. "I will never let anything happen to them again." For the first time in years, Naomi felt something shift, a fragile, trembling trust beginning to rebuild between them. Word leaked quickly. Photos of Naomi with the triplets outside the clinic appeared in newspapers and social media. The public was captivated. The billionaire's secret children, the mother who had survived against all odds. Alexander faced scrutiny, questions, even criticism. Yet, in his heart, nothing mattered more than his children. He publicly acknowledged them, embracing Naomi in a press conference. "I abandoned my family once," he said, voice steady, "and I will never make that mistake again. These children are my life, and Naomi has shown me what true strength looks like." Naomi stood beside him, holding the babies. The crowd watched, some skeptical, some moved to tears. For her, the moment was bittersweet. Her pain and struggle had been visible to the world, but so had her resilience. Back at the mansion, Alexander and Naomi began the slow process of building a home together, not just for the children, but for themselves. They painted the nursery walls, laughed as the babies reached for toys, and shared quiet evenings planning the future. Alexander learned the rhythms of fatherhood quickly, while Naomi taught him patience and humility. They were far from perfect, and trust would take time, but every smile, every small milestone, was a step toward healing. One evening, as the babies slept, Naomi leaned against Alexander. "You're really here," she said softly. "I'm here," he replied, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. "And I'm not going anywhere." Months passed. The mansion, once silent and cold, was filled with laughter, cries, and the warmth of a family reunited. The triplets, Eli, Noah, and Amara, thrived under the love of both parents. Alexander had changed. The empire he built still stood, but now it served a higher purpose, providing stability and love for the family he almost lost. Naomi, too, had grown stronger, no longer a woman defined by suffering, but by courage. On a sunny afternoon, Alexander watched Naomi cradle Amara while Eli and Noah played nearby. He took Naomi's hand. "We've been given a second chance," he said. She smiled, tears in her eyes. "And we won't waste it." The triplets giggled, tugging at Alexander's coat, and he laughed, a deep, unguarded sound he hadn't made in years. The storm of the past had finally cleared, leaving only light, love, and the promise of forever. And that was the incredible story of a billionaire who discovered, in the pouring rain, that the children he never knew existed were right in front of him. His journey from regret to redemption reminds us that life can surprise us in ways we never imagine. If this story moved you, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you can be the first to see our next unbelievable story. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes the most powerful miracles appear in the most unexpected moments.